Welcome to this edition of the Chiefs, and with us right now are Ana Marie Pamintuan of the Philippine Star, coming in. There you go. Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5, and in a little while we will be having Robbie Alampay reporting from the Channel 5 newsroom in Reliance, Mandaluyong. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
And happy weekend.
Happy weekend. More general
In advance.
community
Hindi na sa bukas.
quarantine. Tuloy pa rin. At
GCQ pa rin.
Ano masasabi nyo na naman sa midnight announcement?
Oo nga eh. Baka mabalik daw. May qualification. Baka daw tayo balik sa MGCQ, di ba?
Hindi ko na inaabangan eh. Was it
Wait.
ME nga pala.
Yeah.
Yes.
MECQ. Was it a taped announcement or was it a live announcement?
Hindi
Basta-
yun.
Parang, hindi, alam mo, it was Harry Roque for a long time.
Yeah.
And then, hindi ko na naabutan yung, parang na-cut siya.
Oo,
Ewan ko kung, diba? Parang
nawala
na-cut eh. Yeah.
Kasi we've gotten used to the president with his edited announcements. Na we've gotten so used to it na pati yung speeches sa holo inedit.
Oo nga.
Oo nga eh.
Ayan na sila.
There's Robbie Alampay from Mandaluyong.
Oo nga eh. Well,
Hello.
Ano ba pinag-usapan nyo?
ayun,
Wala pa naman.
Kagabi. Yung announcement kagabi na super atrasado again. So nagrereklamo nga yung mga sa Cebu, di ba? Kasi feeling nga naman nila, kailan ba matatapos tong midnight announcement? Tapos effective na the very next day. You know?
Yeah.
Nagkakagulo nga naman sila kasi lalo na yung mga restaurant owners, even employees, di ba? Nasisira yung mga schedule nila kasi parang biglang, dapat pala pumapasok na ako ng ganito or, di ba? Or pwede na pala luwagan or dapat pala sikipan. Ang gulo nga naman, no? Parang asking na.
Cebu, no? At least na sila, modified na sila.
Yes,
I
at least
know.
na-modify.
Madagdagan na yung mga negosyo doon na makakapagbukas na kahit konti lang, di ba? And that's
Pero
not
nabigla
Cebu.
nga raw sila. Nabigla yung mga owners kasi tumatawag yung mga workers. Sinasabi ngayon, pwede na ba kami pumasok? Kasi lumuwag na eh. So parang nabigla nga naman sila. Diba? Pati mga customers, syempre, pwede na ba kami kumain dyan? Wala pa silang supplies. So, I think the government has to pay heed also, no? Parang, I think they have to make the announcement earlier and make it effective at least 2 days later, di ba?
Napupuyat po kami.
Madugo mag-edit.
Well, that much has been consistent since the start of the COVID crisis.
Exactly.
Communication has always aggravated the situation.
Baka talagang gusto nila mambigla. Anyway, umakyat tayo ngayon sa over 61,000.
61 na.
Very much earlier than predicted by the UP experts.
Humabol ang UP.
Ano kaya?
Oo nga, no? It's only the 16th.
Yeah, layo. Ano kaya?
We're just mid-month.
And Secretary Duque has clarified that hindi raw niya sinabing flatten, bend daw. Ano ba yun?
Again, it goes to, same theme, communication, di ba? And even when you read his clarification for hindi, I meant bent, I didn't mean flatten. Even the clarification was confusing. I mean, in one sentence, may word siya doon na bent, dumiretso, dumapa, and so on. So, I mean, again, it's simple. It's not simple. But certainly, when you have the data and you can prepare the presentations and you can pair the graphics and the communications, you would think that you don't have to be winging any of these things. And again, it just shows that communication is a very, very vital thing. And that's the thing, which everybody keeps saying, it's not even us. Even people in government have always said this from the very start. But they just can't seem to the hang of it.
Tingnan natin kung ano perception ng mga hospital sa messaging ng gobyerno siguro. And that rise in COVID cases. Pasok na siguro natin.
Yeah, si Ami talaga yung segue queen natin.
Kakunti oras natin.
Okay, let's bring in our guest for tonight. Our guest for tonight is Dr. Rustico Jimenez. He's been with us before. Dr. Rustico Jimenez, the president of the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines. Dr. Jimenez, thank you po for joining us tonight.
Hi,
Good
Doc.
evening. Good evening.
Good evening po.
Good
Doc,
evening.
if I recall correctly, the last time you were with us, last time you were with us, you were talking about the dire situation of private hospitals, at least financially. Pero let me ask you now, especially with COVID-19, and of course the expected drop in the number of regular patients that private hospitals are taking in because of the COVID scare. How are the private hospitals now? Is it a workable? Is it survivable?
Dito po sa NCR, at least 10 to 15 hospitals are already overloaded. And then some in the provinces like in Cebu, Iloilo, and Bacolod, even in Bohol, some private hospitals po are overloaded already. But generally, all over the Philippines, meron pa rin po tayong available na ICU, about 53%.
53%.
Isolation room po, yung provide ng government, about 53% also. Ang kokonti na lang po is yung quarantine na yung wards, about 43%. But what is good is yung ating mga ventilators, 73% po available all over the Philippines. Kaya lang po,
Okay.
natin, because NCR is i-increase talaga eh. That's why we are already 61,266. And then, syempre ang mga pasyente, most of them will go to the private hospitals. Kaya po, ang nangyayari, overloaded talaga po yung mga big hospitals natin, especially in the National Capital Region. Pag hindi po natin napababa yung ating mga positives na available dito sa NCR, baka nga po bumalik tayo doon sa mahigpit na sa quarantine.
Well, Doc, I meant to ask you not just about the big hospitals. Kasi yung big hospitals, kahit paano may huhugutan yan eh. For example, St. Luke's, Makati Med, kahit paano malaking kapital nila, may huhugutan yan eh. But most of the hospitals, I would assume, in this country, are smaller to medium-scale hospitals. I meant to ask you kanina, in my earlier question, with COVID-19 and yung effect ng COVID-19 doon sa inyong loading, sa inyong finances, how are the hospitals doing right now with regard to yung whether or not they can survive, the hospitals can survive this crisis?
Yun nga po, di ba nung sinabi ko sa inyo, yung mga maliliit po na hospital ang nagsasuffer kasi kukunti lang po yung pumupunta na non-COVID patients sa hospital dahil natatakot eh. So, baka ang mangyari pa sa atin dito, magkaroon pa ng pandemic or epidemic ng ating mga sakit na binibigyan natin ng vaccine. Hindi ko tatakot po yung mga magulang dalhin yung bata sa hospital, hindi na pa-vaccinate. So baka po, tagulan na po tayo ngayon, baka po magkaroon tayo ng epidemic ng mga chickenpox, dengue, leptospirosis, and the other diseases that are preventable by vaccination po.
Doc, nang isang araw po kausap namin Executive Director ng NKTI, si Dr. Rose Liquete. And one of the things that she also took note is sabi niya, some hospitals are also being challenged on the manpower side, especially some nurses, even medtech. Sinabi niya, yung ibang mga nurses ayaw pumasok, assign sila sa COVID wards and so some are leveraging that, transfer to other hospitals that can accommodate them in units where they would prefer to be. Is this affecting private hospitals as well, the manpower side, especially with the nurses?
Opo, hindi pa po. Nasabi ko na po during the last interview natin na before the COVID, kulang na po tayo ng mga sa bed capacity.
Nawala.
Oy, si Doc nawala. Oh,
okay.
I guess you guys remembered in the last interview we did with him, di ba? That we were talking about also in PhilHealth reimbursements.
PhilHealth, yes.
If I remember correctly. So they were having a problem with their finances
Yun
because of
yung may-
PhilHealth.
Na-deny ng PhilHealth.
Na-deny ng PhilHealth. This was being qualified by PhilHealth.
Yeah.
Nagalit nga yung PhilHealth eh. Hindi daw totoo yun.
Yeah. Yes.
Pero ito, yung sinasabi ni, before naputol yung signal, I think he was referring to that, na even prior to that, they already had, alam naman natin yan, even before COVID, mayroon na tayong dilemma with our nurses. On the one hand, marami tayong tinitrain, on the other hand,
Ay, Doc, welcome back.
Dr. Jimenez. Doctor, you were saying about our nurses, our situation with nurses.
Totoo po yun. Even before the COVID po, may kulang na po tayo ng mga 23,000 nurses. Medtech po mga 3,000 and Radtech 3,000. Ngayon po, with the advent of the COVID, marami po yung tinamaan. So, imbis na full force po ang ating mga manpower, katulad nga po sinabi sa Kidney Institute, ay kulang na po siguro mga 10 to 20%. Ganon din po ang nangyayari sa aming mga hospital. For example, in our own hospital here in Parañaque, 2 po yung nurse na tinamaan, 1 doktor, 3 medtech, 2 gradtech. So, pinagpahinga ho namin yun ng 10 to 14 days until the results are negative. So, imbes na makapag-handle po kami ng 50 patients sa aming hospital ngayon, it's down to about 10 only to 15. Ngayon po, positive sa aming hospital is about 3. So, imagine that the consequence, kasi takot din ho yung mga magulang padala yung ating mga anak na nurses at medtech sa hospital pag may nabalitaan silang positive yung hospital sa hospital. Even 1 doctor, and recently, 2 pong doktor pa ang namatay, 1 in Cavite, and the other one, ngayon lang ata hong gabi namatay yung isa. So, tumaas na po yung bilang namin sa doctors na namatay na about 36, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dear.
So COVID-wise, overwhelmed na po ba kayo? COVID-wise, COVID ward-wise?
Opo, kasi po, ang mga rooms naman namin, 1 lang o 2 yung provided for infectious. Ngayon, nag-request po ang DOH dagdagan ng 30%. But hindi naman po namin mako-comply kasi nga po maraming personnel ang nagkasakit.
Wala.
So,
Yes.
paano namin mapupulfill yung 30% additional?
Okay, so yung problema
Sige
po
po.
kasi ngayon, I don't know if you're encountering it, no? Yun pong mga nagpupunta sa ospital ninyo na asymptomatic or mild. Marami po bang ganun? At anong ginagawa nyo? How do you handle these patients? Do you send them to the isolation facilities?
Yun nga po ang request namin, pag meron pong asymptomatic na positive sa test, sa PCR especially, nire-request po namin sa government facilities na tanggapin. Pero napakahirap po mag-transfer kasi siyempre ang pinipili po ng ating mga relatives yung malapit sa bahay yung pagdadala ng hospital.
So anong
Kasi hindi
ginagawa
naman
nyo,
nila-
Doc?
Opo?
Anong ginagawa nyo? Parang
Yun nga po,
napapwersa na ba?
nakipag-usap po ako. For example, myself, I call the ASEC from DOH, si ASEC Punsalan, kasi siya in charge po sa mga hospital. Kung saan po may available na COVID pa na bakante, papalipat ko po doon. Kasi po,
Pumapayag
pinalaman
naman.
ng mga relatives na merong positive po sa isang hospital na private, usually, hindi na sila pupunta.
Yes,
Even the
right.
doctors, mag-iingat po.
Yeah.
Doctor, the last time we talked to you, you were complaining na mabagal yung pag-process ng mga claims niya with PhilHealth. This was
Opo.
this was strongly denied by PhilHealth at nagalit pa nga. Kumusta naman ngayon yung status ng mga claims na
Ganun
yun?
po rin naman po eh. At least slowly nagbabayad sila after
Nawala sila ni Robbie.
Oh, pati si Robbie sinama sinama ni Duke. Anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, you were asking about PhilHealth, diba?
May istorya ngayon na they are planning to release a second tranche of assistance to hospitals eh. Yun sana i-follow up ko kung nasagot niya yun.
Oh.
Oo, magkakaroon daw ng sa private hospitals. Lalaman din naman ng gobyerno yung problema. Ewan ko lang kung saan kukunin yung pera. Hindi ko
Oo,
masyado.
saan yun, ano?
Ayun na.
Coming back on. There you go.
So, doctor, you were talking
ngayon sa
about claims.
government.
Doc,
Dagdagan
sorry
po
Doc,
yung
naputol kayo Doc. Doc, paulit po, naputol po kayo.
Pakiulit
Pwede
lang
po
po.
paulit.
Ano po
Sorry
kaya?
po.
Yung po na advance ng PhilHealth na sabi nila bibigyan kami ng marami, only about 50% po yung nabigyan so far. Doon po sa Iloilo, nagkaroon na po ng epidemic, nag-lockdown ng 3 hospital doon. Hindi po ako nabibigyan ng advance payment ng PhilHealth. Kaya nga po nakikiusap kami. Sana kung nabigyan na yun, makakatulong po yun sa finances ng mga 3 hospital na malalaki sa Iloilo. Ngayon po, nagme-meeting naman every week po ang aming association at PhilHealth. Sinasabi nila, ginagawa na po nila ng paraan para mabigyan na po yung mga hindi pa nabigyan. In fact, yung latest ad nila sa dyaryo ngayon o kaya sa internet, pipilitin daw nila magkaroon ng second tranche. Kasi lalo
Yes.
na sa major hospital sa NCR, kulang din po ang naibigay nila.
Pala kayo,
Okay.
magkakaroon nga ng second tranche. Nawala uli ba?
So,
No,
so Doc,
Ami, naputol ka.
Oo.
Oo.
Oh, nanotify.
Narinig nyo yung sinabi ko po?
Opo. Oo. Magkakaroon po
yes,
kayo ng
there
second
will be a
tranche.
second tranche.
Yung po ang sabi po ng PhilHealth, magkakaroon sila ng
Yes.
second tranche para yung mga hindi pa po nabigyan, mabigyan po nila. Para po makatulong dun sa na hindi na eventually magsara po yung mga ospital na magkukulang na po sa haba ng PC kasi maliit lang po yung mga PC ng mga maliliit na ospital. Majority po mga ospital namin, mga lang po, primary at
Yes.
secondary. Hindi po katulad ng sinasabi natin dito sa Metro Manila, yung mga pag-aari po nila Mr. Pangilinan, nila, Ayala, mahaba po sila yung PC nila. Pero just the same, nakausap po namin si Mr. Pangilinan about 2 weeks ago, sabi niya, if you are able to 50% of your market, mahusay na yon kasi kami din, yung I think 12 hospitals niya or 15, gano'n na po ang sinasuffer nila ngayon. Kasi nga po, hindi naman po lahat ng non-COVID patients nagpupunta sa hospital. Kaya po, naapektuhan talaga yung serbisyo namin, including the capability financially. So, kung ang dati po, na-admit namin almost 80%, ngayon po back to about 30% lang. The most is 40%. Kaya imagine, nagbibigay po kami ng hazard pay, nagbibigay po kami ng free transportation at free meals sa aming mga empleyado, huwag na lang umuwi at doon na lang po natutulog sa ospital. Kasi po pag umuwi pa, na-ostrach pa po sa uuwian nila. Lalo na po magkukulang ang aming personnel. So isa po yun sa major factor na pwedeng hindi na makapagsilbi yung mga private hospitals kasi wala akong manpower to treat the patient or help treatment of the patient. Kung tanggap po ng tanggap at wala namang mag-aalaga, di mamamatay lang po, dadagdag yung ating death mortality rate po.
Yeah. But Doc, on that side, nabanggit nyo nga po, I mean, ang isang problema is even outside of COVID cases, even the non-COVID cases, nahihirapan din operationally and for that matter, business-wise kasi yung mga tao hindi nagpupunta sa mga ospital, sa mga clinics. Are there any innovations on that side? Ano pong ginagawang adjustment na nakikita nyo na kahit paano nag-eksperimento, whether it looks promising or it's working or it's not necessarily working, kung mga innovations sa services na pinag-eksperimentohan ng private hospitals and private doctors for that matter?
Ngayon po, presently, ang mga doktor po nagki-clinic slowly, pero po limited. For example, I myself, before I used to see 20 patients to 30 patients a day. Ngayon po, pag nag-clinic ako, mga 5 na lang po. Dahil inaalagaan ko rin yung sarili ko. So, marami po innovations kaming ginawa. Nagka-triage po kami even sa OPD. Hindi po diretso kagad sa clinic. Kinukuha po yung ating mga address, telephone number, and cellphone number para po just in case may mag-positive even outpatient, madali po nating mag-contact tracing. Naglagay din po kami either yung exhaust fan sa mga clinic at kami po sa aming hospital, naglagay po kami ng HEPA filter, yung ginagamit po even airlines.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, nawala na naman.
Nawala na.
Yeah. Yung mga HEPA filter na yan, napaka-effective daw niyan eh. sa mga Airbus na eroplano, HEPA filter daw can actually bring down alam niyo, aerosolized air nga, it can
Yeah.
actually bring down within 1 second to the ground. So,
Wow.
hindi mo siya malalanghap. Yeah. So,
Wow.
operating rooms in tertiary hospitals already have the HEPA filter.
Yung droplets.
Yeah, yes. You were talking
Before
about...
po namin
Yes.
dalhin sa operating room yung mga pasyente na elective, yung mga tinatawag natin na pwedeng i-postpone, tinetest muna po kung negative or positive. Pag positive sila, hindi na po tinutuloy yung operation muna. Pinapagaling po muna sila. Kung makakahintay po. Pero pag emergency, di magte-take risk na lang po yung nurses at doktor kasi wala hong choice baka mamatay But the elective po, yung mga katarata, yung gallstone na hindi naman masyadong masakit. Of
Right.
course, yung cesarean section, hindi natin mapupostpone yun kung nagle-labor na. So, yung po ang iniingatan natin ngayon, mabuti, na kasi po ang karamihan po ng doktor na namatay ay anesthesiologist tsaka ENT. Kasi sila po nag-intubate sa throat ng pasyente. So, if you analyze yung mga doktor po na namatay, either they are anesthesiologists or ENT people. Kaya po napakahirap ngayon kumuha kung magkasakit ka at kailangan mo ng anesthesiologist. Very few anesthesiologists po yung a-answer ng call. Yung po ang problema namin sa mga hospital ngayon. Ayun naman po naglalagay din ng intubation para ma-connect po sa ating respirator. Meron din pong risko kasi napaka-close kayo sa throat ang lagay nyo ng tubo. So yun po aming risk ng mga doktor ngayon at even the anesthesiologist. So kung sasabihin po natin at this time bawal po magkasakit kasi kung kailangan ng anesthesia, napakahirap po hindi naman natin pwedeng operahan yung pasyente na paramdaman niya. Siyempre gagalaw yun.
Oo naman, yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Doctor,
And
merong mga
hindi
hundreds of doctors from about 32 countries na nag-warning. They have observed daw na posibleng airborne transmission possible sa COVID. At
Opo.
naobserbahan na din yan kasi it was acknowledged by World Health Organization although sabi nila hindi pa definitive naobserbahan na din ba yan? Especially
Obserbahan po namin yan kasi minsan po hindi naman lumabas ng bahay kaya lang, merong isang tao o isang kasama niyo sa bahay ang bibili ng pagkain sa labas o kaya bibili ng gamot. So, ang nangyayari po, pagbalik siguro nung tao na yun, mahahawa niya, especially doon sa mga urban poor natin po, maliliit naman ang bahay doon, maliliit ang kwarto. Kaya po, pinapakausapan namin yung mga pasyente na positive sa ospital na maniwala po na pwede naman i-transfer doon sa isolation rooms na solo-solo ang room. Kasi kala nila hawa-hawa sama-sama sila doon sa isang room. Doon po sa ginawa ng gobyerno na isolation rooms po, separate po sila isa-isa lang. Kaya lang po, ang kinatapos nila siguro, baka po konti rin yung doktor at nurses na mag-handle sa kanila. At yun po, isa pa nga yung baka malayo sa pamilya, hindi madadalaw. Pero hindi naman sila pwede talagang dalawin. Kaya po, di ba nabanggit ngayon na baka police pa yung mag-pick up to sa pasyente at ita-transfer sa isolation room. Palagay ko naman hindi na po siguro dapat gawin yun kasi ang nakakaintindi naman po dyan yung mga health workers.
Okay.
Well, hindi naman daw police. Health worker naman daw talaga. Yeah. I mean, just to set the record straight. Okay.
Oh, we lost him again. We were just about to say goodbye and thank you to Dr. Rustico Jimenez, the president of the Philippine Private Hospitals Association. We will just go into gap, so please stay with us.
Welcome back to the Chiefs, and now we'd like to welcome our next guest, Professor Ranjit Rai of the University of the Philippines Octa Research, the group behind the pretty accurate predictions about the COVID trend in the Philippines. Professor, mukhang natalo yata ngayon yung ka-contest nyo. Unfortunately, we are past 61,000, 2 weeks ahead of your prediction.
Integrera ka talaga, Ami, ha?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening,
Good evening po.
televiewers.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Napanood ko na
We would like to clarify it's not a prediction, it's a projection, ma'am.
Projection,
And,
yeah. Mathematical models.
It's a big problem now. So many people are coming to us, private citizens who want us to do predictions for Lotto, for the stock market. We don't do predictions. We do projections. And
Pwede rin namang mathematical models yan eh.
Yeah.
Pero
Yes po. I don't know where Professor Guido David is right now, but I think I will send him the link.
Yeah, napanood namin kayo kagabi. And ang sabi nga ng Malacanang, your team was proposing that Metro Manila be reverted to MECQ.
MECQ.
The more, stricter.
Let me clarify. Yeah.
Yes.
We presented to the president, and we were not the only guests, obviously. And when we were requested to present, we gave the scenario, two scenarios. One is two options actually, policy options. One is of course to maintain GCQ in the NCR, the National Capital Region. With the requirement that there would be more effective local lockdowns, a strict adherence to border controls, and of course, scaled up testing, tracing, treatment, and isolation. The second option, of course, and we put this as a second option, was also was to consider the MECQ given the very high transmissions, viral transmissions happening in the region. We provide the context for the president, no? And the context was this: that there is a surge, and it's a serious surge, ladies and gentlemen, no? And the surge is in the bulk of the surge, where we see it most happening is in two places, Cebu and in Metro Manila. The epicenter is obviously in Metro Manila, and to give you an idea. Just a month ago, we were at 1.2. Actually, for just 3 weeks ago, we were 1.2 for our R0. Okay. Again, the R0, no, because that's the only, that's the only tool we use really for our analysis, for our modeling, and the R0 as of yesterday was 1.75. So that's a big leap, no? In less than a month. And you can see that
1.28.
Obviously in the increase in number of cases, in our hospital capacity being burdened, in the discussion you just had 5 minutes ago with the very good doctor.
Linawin ko lang because you mentioned linawin ko lang, are you referring to national or Cebu or Metro Manila?
Yeah, okay, yeah, good. Yeah. Okay, that's the national. That's the what I mentioned was the R0 for the nation. And by the way, the R0 for the nation is also the R0 for the National Capital Region, 1.75. So all of the R0s increased. There was no decrease anywhere. Everything increased, and the only decrease we saw was in Cebu. And we wanted to frame the discussion this way, that our interventions, our collective response in Cebu is working. And in Cebu, it's quite dramatic. From more than 2, imagine more than 2. We had this discussion a few weeks ago, and now it's around 1.3. So that's kind of significant. And you will see that the situation is normalizing. It's not just they're not yet out of the woods, but obviously the trends, and that's the important point I want to emphasize then to the president, the trends were downward. We're going down,
but they were at ECQ.
For NCR.
But they were at ECQ.
And so we talked about the option of ECQ because we had a projection, a modeling exercise. We showed the president that if we went on a modified enhanced community quarantine, we could bring down the 1.8, 1.7 R0 to 1.1 by in about 15 to 20 days. So that was why there was some discussion about it, because it would have drastically reduced the R naught, quickly bring down the trends. But then again, we all know that MECQs, ECQs, these kinds of drastic quarantines are hard on the socio-economic life of the country.
Yes,
They're
yes.
blunt instruments that
Right.
are problematic to use over a certain period of time, and
Okay.
so all of that put together, although some of
Yes.
the discussion I can't discuss here, no, because obviously
Yes.
they were in
Opo, opo.
confidence, no.
Professor,
But
Professor,
the general theme was trying to balance lives and livelihoods.
Pero
yeah,
Prof, it gets a
Professor,
bit confusing
okay,
kasi, sir,
can we
it's,
set certain, sorry, can we set projections based on your R naught? So, if assuming nag-MECQ sa Metro Manila, uh, what will be the real numbers? Kasi ang projections nyo noon, di ba, 70 by end July, between 60 and 70, and 100,000 by end August. Kung nag-MECQ for the next 2 weeks, would that have been reduced? Numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the important focus should be on the R naught, on the trend. It would have reversed that trend. From the upward trend, it would have really drastically reduced it towards a downward trend. And while we would not have flattened the curve yet, we would still be somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2 R naught. Okay? But if we extended it, we also showed that to a middle part of August, meaning 30 days of MECQ, we could have reduced it to below 1. So, but these are decisions the government has to make, mindful of the socio-economic realities we are in. So many people are suffering, and we have to find the balance. And so it was the consensus to do a GCQ with localized lockdowns, more surgical, and with scaled up testing and tracing in particular.
Yes,
Okay,
sir, just for context, sir.
let's just bring in Professor Rai's teammate, Professor Guido David.
Oh,
Also,
finally.
AUP. Na-checkpoint yata si
Hi, sir.
Professor Guido. Professor
Hi, sir.
Guido, okay naman daw sa inyo pala na mag-GCQ, no? Pero ano yung condition kung mag-GCQ? Gusto nyo may local lockdowns? Ganun ba yun?
Wala naman kami exactly condition. I mean, di naman namin ini-impose itong recommendations. We just think we should try to assess yung natin, mga solutions natin, yung mga random testing natin, and then yes, possible yung mga local lockdowns. Sila naman din yung magde-decide kung ano yung mga solutions. We just give recommendations. And maybe it's worth a try din naman. For the past few days medyo nagdi-decrease ng konti yung R naught natin sa Metro Manila, sa NCR. So may slight positive tayo. I mean, few days pa lang tayo. So we have to see it over a long term. So para makita natin yung effects nito talaga.
Would you call it bending the curve? Kasi clarify na hindi naman daw na-flatten yung curve. Would you call it bending the curve? Na-bend ba natin somewhere along the way?
Well, I mean, because we check the R naught, I mean, nagbe-bend talaga siya. It keeps bending. I mean, sometimes nagdi-decrease siya, sometimes nag-increase siya. So, it's a continuous bending naman talaga. Hindi naman siya straight eh. So, kung kembot siya talaga. So,
So tama si Secretary Duque.
Hey, Professor, in all seriousness, nandun kayo sa Malacanang, I'm wondering if you were able to talk to Secretary Duque. Now, of course, we've been talking about, as you said, your methodology really centers around the R naught. We've talked about death rates, case numbers, and so on. We're also talking about doubling rate. Did you have time to clarify with Secretary Duque what exactly he was referring to when he first said, I mean, let's say he did qualify it, but what exactly what is he referring to?
I think, Robbie, the value of our experience yesterday was we were able to talk to the implementers and get first-hand information from all of them. we are in a crisis, a health crisis, which is very complex. No, the response will require not just equipment, resources, financial and human resources. It will require a high level of coordination and collaboration between civil society, the private sector, and business. And the conversations we had during the breaks were very instructive. For example, we still have problems with data, and it's not because somebody's hiding it. It's because really the nature of data management in the country before the pandemic was already problematic, But slowly it's changing. It's improving. We were able to talk to Secretary Duque, and again we were talking about the bending of the curve and all of these things, no. Again, the idea was to link up with implementers. We're researchers. We're not even the experts, and we were very clear to point that out yesterday. The real experts were sitting beside us: epidemiologists, doctors. We're really people who synthesize data, who look at forecasts and numbers, and try to provide some sense, systematized data for decision making. And we
Speaking
expressed
of
that to
that,
the
the last
president and the
time,
team.
speaking of that, the last time you guested here, you were talking about specifically. You said there were a lot of data na hindi categorized. There were a lot of areas of data that were missing. For example, information on locations. Are we still encountering the same types of problems with the data?
Robbie, we're worse off now than we were when the last time we talked to you, and we
Worse
did
off.
include it in our discussion paper, which I think we will be posted in the UP website possibly tomorrow. The uncategorized cases, the cases without location, has made it extremely hard for us to do forecasts, granular forecasts up to at the LGU level. We would like to help LGUs now. Doing forecasts for the country is good. It's informative, but it's really helping at the LGU at the granular level. That's I think our challenge now. But we can't seem to get good data. But the important thing about yesterday, the linking up with implementers, is now we have a relationship. In a sense, they can share data with us, and we can help them systematize it. The idea there is now that we have this linkage. We can try to make use of this linkage to improve our forecasts and projections, not just for government, but for the public also, so they can better understand where this pandemic is going.
Sir, I don't get it.
When
Why
you
is the
say
quality of
you're
the data
off,
worse?
yeah.
It was supposed to be getting better as we go along,
Yeah.
di ba? Why is it the other way around?
Yeah,
Professor David has a lot to say about that.
No,
Okay.
I don't have a lot. I
Professor
have
David.
something to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, pero we asked with some of the people from DOH, and they said yung ano daw, problem is nasa test centers. When they return it, hindi complete yung information. But at the same time, it was before last time we spoke. It was around 2,000 cases, and it's up to about 9,000 plus cases
Oh, wow.
na uncategorized, and that makes it really difficult to do trend analysis on yun nga, as Professor Ranjit says, on a granular level. Parang, how can we say, kunyari, if, for example, Cebu is improving if meron palang missing data that we are not incorporating? I mean, of course, Cebu is improving, but how can we say, for example, if NCR will be improving if there is missing data? So that makes it a big challenge.
Prof, ibalik ko lang sa inyo yung tanong nyo. How can you say that Cebu is improving kung missing pala yung data? I mean, because on the one hand you said, how can we say that? And on the other hand, you're quite unequivocal that, well, actually Cebu is improving. So how can you make that kind of a statement?
Yes, well, actually, we are confident that Cebu is improving based on what we see. We do make allowances the uncategorized cases, so we make certain assumptions in including them in the count unofficially. So we look at different metrics, naman, not just the case count, but also the positivity rate and the hospitalization rate. So on several based on several indicators, we're seeing an improvement in Cebu. But what I'm saying is, in general, or even in an LGU level sa Metro Manila, we also have uncategorized cases. For the LGU level, it's more difficult to make certain assumptions because uneven yung trends nila. But for NCR and Cebu, we can make certain assumptions. At least we can sort of make an inference on how they're trending based on their numbers.
By
Sir, for me,
uncategorized.
Sir, for me, a very elementary question lang. Kasi sabi kanina ni Professor Rai, we have had a surge and yung R naught has gone up. But at the same time kasi, just some confusion for me, how to look at the numbers eh. Whenever we see numbers going up, we are always told that is expected because the testing capacity is going up. So hindi ako personally hindi ko malaman tuloy, should I be getting worried that numbers are going up, or should I be feeling good that numbers are going up because that means that the testing is getting better?
Yes.
Yes, for that what we do is we compare not just the numbers but with the positivity rate. And one of our collaborators, the Father Nicanor, he checks the positivity rate, and that gives us an indication if it's due to that increased testing or if there is a genuine surge. And based on the testing, we saw that there is a genuine surge in NCR. So that's what we noticed. So nag-increase yung positivity rate from somewhere like 6 to 7%, and now it's up to 10 to 11%, and that's a significant increase in NCR. Yes, and it's going with the trend in the increase in cases. Because like you said, we expect cases to increase, are not, pero is it due to the testing? And yes, we're getting more testing now. We have 24,000 tests na na-reach natin yun. And I think the numbers are increasing based on the test center counts. We have more test centers now, and they're producing a lot of tests. So we could be reaching 30,000 tests soon. So this is a positive improvement on our part, on the government's part. So we want to see that go up even more. As we, relax certain sectors of the economy, maybe later on. I mean, maybe not now, but later on, we need to do additional tests.
So wait, the surge is a function of the rise in tests. Is that it? When you say
the
yes,
surge
definitely there's a surge
is a function.
in positivity. Yeah.
The surge is a function of the rise in new cases. Okay, let's be very clear. It's important policy analysis. You have problem definition. There's a surge. There are so many new cases right now, and the virus is spreading. And whether you look at the R naught or the positivity rate, okay, which shows you the percentage of people who are test positive. Okay, and right now we have increased our positivity rate since our last conversation 2 weeks ago, from something like 7 to something like 10 or 11 now. And that's huge. No, that's huge. It used to take at least 2 or 3 weeks for the positivity rate to go up. Now it's up. So this is not just about testing. It's largely a surge in new cases, and we have to be mindful of that. We have to tell the public that it's going up. We all need to help each other bring those transmissions down.
Well,
Can you make a direct relationship between the surge and the GCQ that has been in place for the last 1.5 months na ba? Or 1 month, no? 1 month. Yeah.
Yes, actually, we can make a direct relationship, and we even showed it in one of our plots when we presented in Malacanang. We take the average R naught since GCQ, or actually since ECQ, MECQ, GCQ, and there has been an increase. In fact, nung nasa ECQ tayo, the NCR reproduction number, yung R naught niya, was around 1. It was hovering around 1. So at that point, we could even say that the curve was flattened. Pero hindi siya na-sustain. So we needed it to be sustained for at least 2 weeks before we could say na na-flatten talaga. Kasi it was, like nabi natin kanina, bending around 1, almost there but not quite flat enough. Ngayon, since then, nung MECQ to GCQ, nag-increase na siya. And now it's around 1.7 more or less. I mean, I think maybe it went down a little bit, but it's around that range. So from 1 to 1.7 ECQ to GCQ. So we can make that inference. Sa Cebu naman, it's the opposite. From nung nag-MECQ sila before, nasa 2, umabot siya sa 2, and then now it's down to about 1.14. And we're hoping that the gains can be sustained now. I think they are a lot more proactive now in Cebu. They're a lot more optimistic about how they're managing the pandemic there.
Well, in fact, the
Nakaka-
DOH acknowledged.
I correct my earlier statement. Excuse me. I correct my earlier statement. It's 1.14. So this is the new data that Gids, no? This is not
Okay,
1.0, it's
okay.
1.14, and that's incredible. It's even more incredible than I described earlier. So that means it's working. These interventions are working. And so, the ECQ or MECQ may be a blunt instrument, but in Cebu, it's working.
The Professor David, just a quick question, and I apologize if this was brought up, nawala kasi ako ng mga isang minuto. But I just wanted to, we've been talking about R0, we've talked about doubling rate, we've talked about all the different numbers. You also mentioned hospitalization rate. What does that indicate, especially on how things are around? What does that tell us about the situation?
Yes, actually, the hospitalization rate tells us yung occupancy right now ng hospital beds and ICUs. So we checked hospital utilization rate in NCR, and it's about 70%. And this is the prescribed danger or critical level na sinabi ng Department of Health. So ibig sabihin, they're almost to capacity. So
Yes.
So that's the danger of the surge. We might fill our hospitals and overwhelm the health workers. So that's why, if we can slow down the pandemic, then it would help ease the burden on the hospitals. And that's the goal of the MECQ, to slow down the pandemic and help ease the burden on hospitals. That's the primary goal, actually, not just bending the curve, but to help the health workers from being overwhelmed. Ngayon, if there are other solutions that they can provide, like increasing health capacity, adding beds, and maybe moving mild cases from hospitals to isolation units, then that can also help ease the hospitals from becoming overwhelmed.
Yes, but Professor, going back, and the reason I asked is going back to Ed's question earlier about testing capacity. Hospitalization rate, if it's trending upward, is a more concrete indicator of the surge.
Yung hospitalization rate, it could be, but it could also be because there are some mild cases who go to hospitals. So there is definitely yes, it's also an indication of the surge, and you're correct that the hospitals are getting filled up. So it's an indication of the surge, yes. But how we can manage the surge is if we can make hospitals available, or if we want to slow down the spread of the pandemic.
Yeah, the DOH has acknowledged that the surge is due to community transmission. And today, lumagpas na 61,000 yung cases natin. Do you think, and then earlier this morning, the Malacanang was warning na pag nagtuloy-tuloy itong surge, mababalik ang Metro Manila sa MECQ. You think this is really a strong possibility at this point na maghihigpit na naman sa National Capital Region?
I think it is based on how we see it, no, and the determination of government to try to deal with this surge. It is really troubling. It's a cause for concern, and the government is trying its best to find a middle ground. But if the local lockdowns don't work, then that's a serious possibility. It's a serious possibility. But lockdowns depend. It really depends on the community, the involvement of the leadership, the mayors, and the health workers, and coming together. There's some. We're already seeing examples of cities that are dealing with it more effectively. No? But it's a tall challenge. We have a lot of people now who have been infected. I have friends now, very close. I have a very close friend who's just recently been infected, and he's a healthy person. Just accidentally went to one place, got a book, and then got sick. That's how fast this virus is. And yes, it is a factor of mobility, proximity, and the opening up. Well, we can't close down forever, and this is something we have to live with over some period of time. But we have to manage the surge. We can't just minimize it, okay, trivialize it, because it will definitely overwhelm our healthcare system. It is actually doing it now.
Are you
Professor
seeing
David,
new emerging hotspots aside from Cebu and Metro Manila? Are there emerging hotspots like
Yes.
Ormoc, Leyte? Are we seeing that?
Yes, there are emerging hotspots. It's actually in our report. And the emerging hotspots, yung iba, they're medyo expected, like Laguna, Rizal, Cavite, and Bulacan. They're very close to NCR, so they are also becoming hotspots again. So we really have to, I mean, that's one of the dangers of the surge in NCR is affect yung neighboring regions like Central Luzon and Calabarzon. So we also have to make sure we monitor the borders of the provinces. And then the other hotspots that were, well, latest medyo expected, but the other hotspot that was not expected is Basilan. I don't think they had a case before, but now they have yes, Basilan. They have a significant number of cases relative to their population. It's significant, and we consider them high risk.
Oh.
Professor, binawin ko lang ulit, yung R0 is a measure of your, in effect, your contact with other people, diba? Your ability to transmit to other people, and you treat yourself as a victim. Am I getting that correctly?
It's the average number of infections a positive case can create. So if Robbie has a infection, it's the average number of people you will infect with your own positive, with your own coronavirus case. So the idea
and that's an indicator in a way.
It's just an indicator, but it's an international indicator. It's an indicator used in many countries.
Yeah, but in a way, it's an indicator of the number of people you're in contact with.
Yes,
yes,
it's average,
it's an average indicator.
Yeah.
Yes, because
I asked because
and how does that jibe with the doubling rate metric that the OH uses?
It's correlated. The doubling rate and the R is correlated.
I asked only because, in terms of the people I'm contact, the people in my home, for example, or my neighbors, or kung lumabas ako, tumataas yung ability to contact with other people. Frontliners ba counted doon? I asked because, may proposal ngayon na mag-house ang mga frontliners, let's not necessarily the police, let's try to tap that.
Health worker.
Does that add to the R0? If there are people coming to my house and getting in contact with us, does that add to the R0?
Yeah, yung R0 is average, so that's why the model generally works when you have a lot of cases already. If you have a small number of cases, the R0 will not work so well. I mean, you can still use it, but it won't work so well because it's average. So if you have 10,000, 20,000 people who are infected, on average, they will not have contact with a lot of people. And that's why we have cases now. We have super spreaders, for example. There is a natural infection rate. For example, if I'm sick and I come to contact with 10 people, I'm not going to infect everyone. I may infect only 20%, for example. So in this case, if I come into contact with 10 people, I will infect 2 people. That would be the natural infection rate without any restrictions. Ngayon, if you have people who come into contact with a lot of people, they can become super spreaders. For example, if I'm sick, pero I use the MRT, I can infect, even though if I infect 2 out of 10 and there are 100 people, then I've infected already 20 people. And that's why this is the R0 goes down, is because if we don't have restrictions, we do our normal selves. Yung natural R0, which is more or less what we see, for example, in other countries which don't have lockdowns like US, or didn't have lockdowns. The natural R0 is around 2+. I mean, they measure it's between 2 to 4.
Yeah.
So parang ganun. Yun yung natural R0 ng coronavirus. So it's infective na rin, but it's not super infective. But it's higher than yung SARS. Now, yung effective R0 na nakikita natin is because of these restrictions sa movement ng people. So if I normally come into contact with 10 people, for example, or 100 people, but now because of my restrictions, I come into contact with only 5 people, then
Yes.
mas less yung spread
Yes.
na nangyayari because of the percentages. So ganun na yun, and then we measure the effective R naught based on the trends, and that's what we're seeing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Professors Guido David and Professor Ranjit Pai, maraming salamat for joining us tonight. Sir, hindi nyo naman sasabihin na panalo kayo ngayon.
Binagi namin yung
Talo
projections
tayo
para
lahat,
we,
no? If we reach
teka muna.
80,000, talo tayo lahat.
yeah, yung
So
60,000
let's work together to bring it down.
Yeah.
enough na namin to 80,000, so hindi pa kami panalo.
Yes, sir.
So, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
80,000
Yeah, because before it was a range. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 60 to 70. Now
It was
it's
a
up to
range.
80,000. So
No, I remember Professor David saying that hindi namin sinasabing 60,000 para i-lowball. Last time you were here, 60,000 was, you were speaking of it in the context of a low number.
yeah, well, it was
Guys, I just want to emphasize. Yeah, go on, kids,
Yeah,
go on.
Yeah, it was on the lower side of our projection. It was 60 to 70. But the fact that we might exceed 70 and reach 80, I mean, it means the trend is going up talaga. And we're seeing the surge. And the surge, the proof of the surge is in the numbers. If we reach less than the projection, that means we're trending downwards. So ganun lang yan eh. I mean, that's why we have the projection. So we know nagtitrend up tayo or nagtitrend down. So that's why it's used as a barometer. And we all win if it trends down. It's not our bet naman that it reaches that number.
Okay.
Okay,
And then
professors,
I want to
maraming...
add to that, no?
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to add to that. We're in a serious situation now. This surge is a real cause for concern, and we all have. I mean, if media can help, not project the fear, but project the urgency for us to work together to bring it down. We need to all, help, no, to do our part. This is something that can get out of control in a week or two. So that's why we need to help each other, no, and emphasize that, what we do as individuals is more important than anything government does at this point.
Yeah. So, Ed,
Okay.
this is not a contest. Yan. Tumulong
Yeah,
ka.
it's not a contest.
Okay, professors, maraming salamat
That's
for
the number
joining
we
us
need to
tonight.
beat 80,000. Let's not reach 80,000 by July 30. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you po.
Thank
Thank
you.
Maraming salamat.
And that will be all for this edition of the Chiefs. We all want to discuss here. We'll keep the conversation going. I'm Edwin Gaupan News.
I'm Mami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News.
Ayos na.